Hi everybody, today I'm going to be updating my quarterly goals in my Makselife system. The way the Makselife goal planning system works is that you do your shit weekly and monthly, but then you also have a quarterly assessment where you go and you assess. If I'm out of breath, I just ran down the stairs. Why? I don't know. Anyway, you go through, assess my areas of life, and apply this to my goals. Now, the way that the Makselife does this, and this is the 6-month undated vertical weekly, which means that there are 2 quarterly assessments because it's only for 6 months, and they're in the back of the planner. But the one piece that is not in here is the assessment scoring, which comes in the yearly assessment where you come up with your original versions of these scores. Well, one thing I decided to do this year was take this. You can actually get it from the Makselife printable library. They have it, I think if you sign up for their mailing list, you can get access to their printable library. And in their Compass assessment is this assessment scoring where you answer the questions and then you take the averages of them and then that's your scores. And so I found that it's more helpful for me to use these each quarter than to just pull a number out of my ass. Now, you could say all of these scores are also just pulling a number out of your ass, but because you're doing it with many different statements, in my unscientific opinion, it improves the accuracy. Now, the other thing I don't do ahead of time is look at my previous scores. I want this to be based on how I'm feeling right now, not being biased by what I scored myself previously. And then what I'll do is I'll go back and I will compare. In the front of my planner, when I did my switch over to this planner mid-year, I'll link that video below. It has all of my scores from the previous quarters. So I will be able to access those scores. I'm just not going to do it yet. Now, this is something I'm doing every quarter for my personal life. There's also a quarterly process I'm following for my work life, and that is my HB90 system. That video should be coming out, I think, next week. I still have to finish going through it. So real quick, let's talk about what I'm using. As I said, I went to the Compass assessment PDF in the library, and I printed out pages 4 and 5, which are the assessment scoring pages. And then this is my Makselife 6-month vertical weekly. If you have the flagship or the Compass notebooks, this same quarterly assessment is in there. And then I currently have my Staedtler pigment liner because it's the pen I'm using currently. However, I have sometimes found that when I do this, I get very heavy-handed, and felt tip pens don't tend to be as sturdy as my standard just gel pen. So if I do switch, it'll be to the Pentel Energel RTX. I have Mildliners and Zig clean color dot markers that I have matched as best as I could to the colors of the Makselife. And I have those here to use. I'm not going to use the dot pens, and I will leave these colors listed in the description as well for the 8 life categories, which are personal, fun and recreation, work and learning, family and relationships, health and wellness, spiritual and personal growth, financial and physical environment. Now, this is everything I'm using here, so I'm going to get started and fill out the assessment scoring. But before I do that, I am going to double check the rules, because the last couple of times I've done this, I have fucked it up. And I don't want to have to redo math because I fucking hate math. Let me know if you're a math hater in the comments or if you're a math lover. You never know, right? So just for a refresher, there are 8 questions per category. You rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 and then divide by 8, and that equals your score. I'm writing this down so I don't forget because I have fucked this up on multiple occasions. You can go back and watch my previous quarterly assessments I've done. This is my 3rd one for the year, and in the past 2 that I've done, and the original one I did, I think I fucked all of them up. So let's get this over with. I'm on the wrong page though. I'm gonna start with personal. All right, I have finished my scoring, and one of the things I do when I do this is I try to go with my gut. As in, I don't second guess myself. Every once in a while I will, and like this last one here, I did, but it was sort of like a, wait, no, that's not what I want to say. But generally speaking, I try and just go with my first immediate thought, and that tends to work out the best. The other thing I do is when I divide it by 8, I round down. Always. So this came out 8.6, I put 8. But I do write down what it originally was, because that way I can really see the difference between the scores, because if it's an 8 here and it was an 8 before, but this is an 8.6 and that was an 8.4, it does show a little bit of improvement. The other thing I like to do is check and see scores versus scores to see if anything markedly changed. Now, if something changed by 1 point, whatever. But if it changes by a lot, I'm curious about that and I want to kind of think about it. We're going to start with personal. The current score is an 8. This is Q1. What do we want as Q2? I think I rewrote Q2 in here. Is that what I did? I should have rewatched that video to remember how I set this up. End of Q2. These are the Q2 scores. My score was an 8.6 for personal, and it was stayed in 8.6, so the score stayed the same. Everything just moved around by like a point. So the only real changes were one thing went down 1 point and one thing went up 1 point. Basically the same though, which makes sense because I wanted this quarter to be kind of a maintenance quarter. Let me explain how this works. When I originally put this in here, I had set for myself where I was at the start of 2022 and where I wanted to be at the end of 2022. Well, as the quarters progressed, I realized I had made progress and I wanted to change the goalposts a little bit, either because I felt like I could do more, maybe my goalpost wasn't set well enough, or I needed to pull it back a little bit. So that was all of this from the beginning of the year. This is the end of quarter 2. And so my goal for personal was to get to a 9, and I was at an 8. I'm still at an 8, and my goal is still going to be to get to a 9 by the end of the year, which means I think since I've seen that nothing changed, basically, very little changed in this last quarter, I think in order to get myself to my goal of 9, I do need for the rest of this next quarter to put a little bit more focus on it so I'm not just maintaining things. Now, that doesn't mean I want to put all my energy into it. I don't think this is going to be my first priority necessarily. At the beginning of the year, it definitely was. But now that I'm getting closer, I think what I just want to do is maybe add a little bit more oomph to it. A little line here because it stayed the same. And if I do an up or a down, that means it went up or it went down. Okay, fun and recreation. I scored an 8, 8.0. As a matter of fact, it was exactly 8. And on my I should put like a bookmark in here or something. That would be a great idea. And so it went up because my fun and recreation score was a 7, 7.8. So it went up by 0.2. A lot of things just went up a little bit, like creating moments for rest and rejuvenation, having fun in ways that serve my highest and best self, rewarding myself when I accomplish a goal, spending time with people I enjoy. Everything kind of just creeped up a little bit and it going up. So I'm going to highlight that as well because I like to keep real close eye on where the progress is being made. Now, again, I should put the fucking bookmark. I'll just use this little Kanban board sticker since I happen to have this nearby. So my current goal was to get to a 9, and I went from a 7 to an 8. So I'm going to keep it at a 9. And we shall see how this goes. What I may wind up doing, because there's going to be some natural sort of fun and recreation stuff as we head into like the holiday season. There's going to be some natural fun and recreation stuff. So I'm not going to have to focus too hard on doing extra for this category because it's going to just sort of come as it goes. So I really want to make sure that when I am putting effort in, perhaps letting this be a little bit more maintenance versus personal, but we'll see about that. Okay, work and learning. This is one of the categories that I'm very curious to see what happened. I got a 6. It was a 6.9 and it went down. That's what I was expecting. The reason it went down, these scores are exactly the same. So the 2 scores that went down were expanding my skills through continued growth and development and having an actionable plan to support the growth and success I desire. And I'm going to be real with you. The reason this one went down, for sure, even though it only went down by a little bit, like 3 percentage points or 0.3 of a point. The reason it went down was because I have had a lot of trouble with my work situation in the past few months because of how shitty I've been feeling. And I haven't been able to focus on it the way I want to, which isn't a problem, except I wasn't interacting with my work in a way that felt healthy to me. Does that make sense? Like, I work for myself, so I do get to set a lot of the priorities and the boundaries. However, my work has been really hard for me lately because I've been feeling so crappy, but I've been so behind on certain things that I haven't been able to really sit down and make some real decisions. Plus, I didn't even do the HB90 stuff for the quarter, and I felt really like adrift. So I really feel that my work, it's not something I hella want to focus on during the holidays. But at the same time, what I want is not to focus on working as much as like I probably should work hella hard during the holidays. What I really want to focus on, I think, is resetting my relationship with work. And I recognize that I am in a place where I can do that because of just our general family situation. But Jesse and I have already been having conversations about it to help me manage how shitty I'm feeling, how I need to work, and where is like the right balance in between. So my current goal is a 9. I don't know if I'm going to get to 9 by the end of the year. My original goal for the year was a 9 as well. I never changed my work and learning goal. So what I would like to do is change the barrier to entry to 8. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to set a slightly lower expectation just to give myself a little breathing room. And so I'm going to just make a note here. Changes to end game 9 to 8. Family and relationships. Another one where I scored exactly 8, and that went up. And that actually is something I was hoping to go. And this is another thing I want to point out here as well. One of the things I've really noticed is that my life is kind of like a seesaw. If one side is going up, another side might need to come down. And I think as certain things have been happening in my life, I've been improving in like areas of spending time with my family and whatnot, but my work life has become harder versus last year where it was the opposite. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's very difficult to find, quote, balance. Anyway, my score went up from a 7.6 to an 8. And there was like a slight decrease in like being present with family and friends and significant other. And I'm pretty sure that the slight decrease there is really based on how shitty I'm feeling. It's hard to feel present when you don't feel present in your life at all. But I did have some definite increases, especially in clarity and peace in the areas I feel like I'm lacking and actively designing what I want for my relationships. I feel like I'm just taking a slight amount more control over how I feel about my family relationship. This is what I hope to see a bigger improvement in the next quarter because it's the holidays, which, as many of you know, can either go completely great for family or can go completely south. It tends to be an extreme time for a lot of people I know. So the family and relationships goal is an 8, which I hit. So go me. And so we're going to increase this to a 9 for the goal by 1 point. I would have just left it the same, especially based on the work I want to do in some of the other categories. Much like the fun and recreations goal, there are certain aspects that are just either going to be hard or really fun, and I want to focus on them being really fun for the holidays. So giving myself a little bit of an oomph is the plan, Stan. Health and wellness. This is another one I'm kind of curious about. So my health and wellness score is a 7.9 and it was a 7. So it went up, which kind of blows my mind because I've been feeling so awful in the last quarter. My self-image went up by 2 points. Healing from stress or trauma I've experienced went up by a point. And feeling strong in body, heart, and mind and being equipped to handle life's events with strength and vitality went up a whole bunch. And I think that's where the big change came in. So it's still a 7, but it's almost an 8. So it's going to be staying the same, but I want to point out that I feel good about the progress. And it's not that I'm like, if I look at those questions, feeling strong in body, heart, and mind and equipped to handle life's events with strength and vitality, like that's not actually true when it comes to my physical health. However, because I feel supported in my family right now, that gives me the mental strength to approach this part of my life that is really difficult with a lot of peace, even though it's hard and I'm still really having crying fits and everything else about it. I feel a lot less floundering. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still feel like shit. I still feel crummy, and I still feel really awful, both mentally and physically sometimes. But I've opened up about it to my family a couple of times, more so than I have recently. And those times really proved to me that my family is here to support me, but also that they understand and that they're not judging me. And so maybe that's what attributed to the scores going up like that. So, like I said, it's staying the same, but that's a big improvement. Even like, that's why I like to keep these little, if I rounded up after the 0.5, then this would definitely have changed, but that's not the way I've been doing things, so I'm not going to do it now. So it still says my goal is an 8, and I'm going to just keep it as an 8 because I might just hit that by the end of the year because I was so close this quarter. So we shall see. All right, spiritual and personal growth, the bane of my fucking existence. I gave myself a 7, worked out to be a 7.5. My quarter 2 was a 7.2, so it did go up. Honestly, the things that changed didn't change very much. It was like by a point or so, things just got shuffled a little bit. I'm not I didn't do the thing. I didn't go to the church. I didn't become a member at the church. This is something that I'm at the point where I may just pop in around the holidays and see what's going on. But I'm just so exhausted right now that this may be something that just sits on the back burner to the end of the year. So I'm going to still keep it at a 9 and it's still at a 7. I'm not changing anything. I'm basically going to just keep it as is. And we'll see what happens in the next, quarter. I've been doing so good with all these and not fucking them up. And then I fuck this one up. So I'm just going to not care. It's cool. And then financial. So financial was one where I had some thoughts this quarter. Jess and I are in the process of rebudgeting and everything like that. So I'm both feeling more confident than I have ever felt when it comes to money, and at the same time feeling really heinous because of my relationship with my work right now. It's a very uncomfortable position that I'm in with money. My score is a 7. 7.6 was the pre-rounding score, and it went up. It was a 6.7, so it went up almost a point. What the hell was the change? I guess my belief in my ability to acquire wealth was a part of it. There were a couple of smaller changes, but other than that, that was the big one. The funny thing is I was looking at that question, and I don't give a fuck about acquiring wealth. Like, that's the question that, like, I always just, part of me wants to just get rid of it and just divide by 7 because I don't give a shit about acquiring wealth. I want to be comfortable enough to not have to worry about things, while at the same time, the idea of getting hella wealthy to me it's real. All of my like socialistic hippie fucking heart does not want to be wealthy. I just want to not have to worry about money and then funnel whatever resources we have back into our community. That's always been my viewpoint on things. So that particular question just really weirds me out. But I'm going to go with it, even though, like I said, I've been feeling very of two ways about the financial stuff this quarter. And my goal was a 7. So what I'm going to do is just, we're at the goal. I'm going to have to replace this green one soon. It's starting to poop out on me. And I'm going to raise it to an 8 just to give me something to strive towards. But even though I hit the goal I was going for, it doesn't really feel that way. So that one is going to be going up. But like I said, I don't know, man. It's one of those things. Now, the other category, the one I feel like I did really well in this quarter, is physical environment, which I scored an 8.8. And my score was an 8.6. So it actually didn't go up all that much. And the scoring looks almost exactly the same, except, again, slight shuffling around of like a single point. Big one that went down was feeling supportive in the management of my home, which I originally gave myself a 9, but that was the one I second guessed myself on. And it's not because my family doesn't support me. I don't feel that they have, I'm still working on getting my family to give a little bit more of a shit. So, but it did go up a little bit. technically though, it's staying the same, which is an 8 with the goal being a 9, and we're going to keep it as that. My circle is all filled in, and I just need to go and highlight the ones that went up. 3 went up, 4 stayed the same, 1 went down. So this quarter, overall, we stayed the same, which is actually fine with me. I was in the fact that I had such a hard few months when it comes to my health, and I'm talking like it's over. It's not over. It's continuing. But the fact that this past quarter is probably one of the hardest for me when it comes to my overall health, staying the same is actually something I'm really happy with. So there is that. Now I'm going to fill this out and we'll talk about it. Although, because one of my favorite things of making these videos is I sort of muse out loud. It helps me talk through my thoughts. A lot of this I think I've already thought about. For the personal actions that contributed the most to these results, the three things I put in was 1, going into the quarter and really wanting to maintain some of the things I had built up over the first chunk of the year. 2nd was being honest with my husband and my kids about how I'm feeling and the help that I need. Even though I'm still working on that with them, that floodgate opening, not like I'm not honest with them, but there was some level of my current situation that I was just sitting on. And by bringing it to my family, it helped immensely with like taking a bit of the burden off and letting them help me with it. And then taking more breaks and sleep, either by choice or not by choice. Like that's one of the things. Like I feel like I have actually gotten some more rest this past quarter, but a lot of it wasn't by choice. It was sort of forced on me by my body. So I don't really know if that's personal actions or not. The words to describe myself, these are very honest, and it doesn't really reflect kind of how I'm feeling about a lot of it, but these are the first 3 words that came to mind, and that's exhausted, burned out, and helpless. Again, rough health situation. And then my biggest opportunity for growth and area of life will be my focus. I kind of listed 4 areas here. And again, these things are all things that came up when I was talking about this. Work and learning was the first thing that came to mind because that's the one that went down. And what I want to do for that is to set new expectations, goals, boundaries for myself for work, for clarity, so that I can go into this holiday season and then this next year feeling less overwhelmed by it all and understanding like what Jesse says our family, like this ties in with the financial, because we need to like really sit down and figure out how do we balance my need for less work with our family needs for resources. And so those 2 things kind of go hand in hand with each other. And the conversation's already been started. This is not something that I am going to have to just drop on him like a bomb. Trust me, we've already been having this conversation. It's just we need to really clarify it. And then the other side of that's kind of the heavy piece of it. The more fun piece is family and fun as those 2 sections here for holidays, to enjoy them with my family, with my kids. It'll be our 2nd holiday in Denver. It's our second time in the snow and getting the hang of things. And so I'm really excited to put some time into that. And like, I want to make cookies this year. Last year, I really wanted to make cookies and never got around to it. This year, I want to make cookies. It's going to be on my list, I think. So yeah, that's my quarterly assessment. Now, before I jump into, I'm going to film directly after this. You'll see it next week. I'm going to film my monthly setup. But before I do that, I really want to go and look at my annual goals. And with the information that I have now from this quarterly assessment, and make any changes that need to happen or any emphasis. I just want to kind of check in. And this is something like doing a quarterly assessment is all well and good, but if you just leave it at this and you don't actually go and like apply what you just figured out to your yearly like kind of plan, then what the hell's the point? So going to my annual goals. For personal, self-care through hobbies and boundaries. Use my hobbies to bring life and personality to every room in the house. And I'm still working on all of these things. And honestly, I think the biggest thing that I want to really add to this, and this is, again, it kind of goes into the holiday thing. What I will add here, and maybe I'll put it on like a Post-it note. Should I put a Post-it note? Okay, let's do something fun. I have these transparent Post-it notes from Cloth and Paper that I bought a while back, and I haven't actually really used all that much. So we'll use this as kind of like a Q4 addition to my goals. And for self-care through hobbies and boundaries, the biggest thing I would like to add in for my goals for the upcoming quarter is holiday goodie production. And I'm saying that instead of baking because I actually really want to try candy making too. I want to make holiday goodies. That's what I want. So that's going to be a focus sometime in Q4, probably the end of November, beginning of December. But that I'm going to add here as like an addition. All right. Now for fun and recreation, bring more adventure and rest to my life. I can actually check a couple of these off. Although fake Thanksgiving is not going to be a staycation, it's going to be an actual vacation because we're going to have my grandmother's service at the same time. These are all things that we are really excited to just continue through the rest of the year. And I think the big thing I would like to do fun and recreation wise is two things. So for Q4, the things I want to add are autumn leaves and Christmas lights. There's some really great places apparently to see the foliage in Colorado that we would love to take Layla to, and maybe even the kids. And then for Christmas lights, definitely we want to get tickets to the Botanic Gardens Christmas lights because we missed that last year. But yeah, just doing some of those basic things to add to the pile. Now, my work and learning goal, this fucking situation it's not even a thing. So what we're going to do here is actually go and just revise the whole goal here. I'm just going to put this below this. Q4, reprioritize and plan with new expectations, goals, and what did I say? I'm like brain farting here. All my business speak, all my words, my business word salad is going out my ears. Expectation, goals, and boundaries. And that is going to be, it's not a yearly goal, it's only a quarterly goal, but it's taking the place of the yearly goal. And then for family and relationships, implement weekly planning and check-ins and coffee dates with friends 2 times monthly. That has been kind of my ongoing thing, communication and quality time. And so for Q4, this kind of, again, ties in with fun and recreation. I want to do some holiday outings. And Jess and I would kind of like to do a holiday party. So now whether if the party doesn't happen, but the outings happen, I'll feel fine. But that's kind of my Q4 focus. Looking to annual goals, being as ready as possible for transplant. None of this is changing. This is all the same. I'm just continuing on with it. Connect and rediscover with spiritual community for spiritual and personal growth. Join a UU congregation and choir by end of year 2022. I don't know if that's going to happen. And so what I would like to do is for Q4 is begin attending. And I think part of that is that I have to really fix my schedule for that. That's something I'm going to have to keep in mind because one of the things I think that's keeping me away from it is that because I work on Sundays, my whole working on Sundays thing and the lives on Sundays and everything started after, like my regular lives on Sundays started after COVID, I think. And so close enough to COVID at least. And so I wasn't going to church on Sundays. So we'll see how that goes. As for the annual goals for financial, most of these things are just going right along. But again, for Q4, the big focus is going to be to the rebudget and prioritize. And again, this is one of those goals I don't talk too much about compared to the other ones, just because it's a lot of personal family shit that I don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing on the internet, but that I think gives you an idea. And then for physical environment, continue to maintain and add to our home, complete a home project each month, regular maintenance. The spreadsheet's big on that. But yeah, I don't think I even need to add anything to this. I think I just want to really point to the spreadsheet and get that fucking taken care of because my sister actually just ran into the issues because her husband had his serotonin syndrome situation and he was the one who paid all the bills and she couldn't find any of the passwords. She knew where they were on a spreadsheet, but she couldn't find the spreadsheet on his computer. Took her some time. So really getting a spreadsheet with all the information of like our services and stuff so that Jesse has that to reference in case he needs to is high on my list. So, but other than that, I don't feel the need to add anything extra to that. So that's my update for my goals, my update for my assessments, my quarterly outlook. I'm feeling pretty good about it. The fact that everything that I basically half of my shit stayed the same, the rest of it either went up or maybe one of them went down, is better than I thought I was going to come out of in this last quarter. I'm not going to lie. So I'm feeling good about it. To go into this last quarter of the year, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you done any assessments of how your year has been going so far? And if you have, how did they go? How are things going for you? And if you didn't do any assessments, let me know in the comments one thing you are proud of from this last year so far that you accomplished or you didn't do, or you whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be big. It can be tiny. I just want to know something you're proud of. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, friends, peace.